The first splash of Coke struck Alara Demir across the face so hard that she stumbled into a serving cart. The second glass came slowly, poured over her dark hair while laughter rolled through the luxury dining room. Phones rose to record, yet no one moved to help. Alara trembled as cola ran from her eyelashes and soaked the name tag above her heart. Then the doors opened. A tall man in a charcoal suit stopped beside 3 security guards, his expression turning from confusion to fury. He saw Alara and whispered 2 words that silenced the room. "My love." Before we discover why one of America's most powerful investors found the woman he loved standing there in tears, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Loyal Hearts. If you believe no honest worker should be treated as less than human, help this story reach others. And tell us where you're watching from today. Your city, state, or country may be far away, but kindness makes us neighbors. 6 months earlier, Alara had been a junior architect with a bright future. Then her mother, Seelan, suffered a stroke. Insurance covered the hospital, but not months of rehabilitation. So Alara sold her car, paused her career, and took every shift she could find at the Sterling Room. Each morning, she helped Seelan into a therapy chair. Each afternoon, she served people who spent more on lunch than Alara earned in a month. Cassian Rowe, the man she loved, offered to pay every bill, but she refused. She needed to know she could still stand on her own. Cassian respected her choice, because he traveled constantly and protected his private life. No one at the restaurant knew they had been together for 3 years. The Sterling Room belonged to Keswick Hospitality, a family company drowning in debt. Its founder, Wallace Keswick, was desperate to save it while his wife Maribel and their spoiled son Paxton acted as if their fortune could never disappear. That afternoon they arrived with friends to celebrate a deal not yet signed. Cassian's firm was considering a $300 million rescue package, the largest investment in the company's history. Paxton boasted that approval was guaranteed because investors cared only about numbers. Alara served them while they mocked the staff and returned untouched meals. When Paxton deliberately pushed a plate to the floor, he blamed her. Alara apologized, although everyone nearby had seen the truth. Maribel noticed Alara's worn shoes and asked whether the restaurant had begun hiring from shelters. Paxton's friends laughed. Alara felt tears burning, but remembered Seelan squeezing her hand that morning and saying she was proud of her. She collected the broken porcelain in silence. Her composure irritated Paxton. He ordered her to smile, and when she quietly said dignity was not part of the menu, his face hardened. He lifted his Coke and announced that perhaps she needed to be sweetened. The first glass hit her face. Maribel clapped, Wallace laughed nervously, and Paxton emptied a full pitcher over Alara's head. Diners stared at their plates. For one crushing moment, she was not an architect, a devoted daughter, or a woman deeply loved. She was entertainment for people who believed a uniform erased her humanity. Alara bent to retrieve her tray, determined not to break. That was when the room fell silent. Cassian had arrived early for the investment meeting and witnessed Coke falling from the pitcher. He crossed the room with controlled fury, removed his jacket and wrapped it around Alara's shoulders. Wiping her cheek, he asked softly, "My love, are you hurt?" Paxton's smile vanished. Wallace rose so quickly that his chair crashed behind him. Maribel called it harmless fun, but Cassian looked at the phone's recording and said humiliation was never harmless to the person forced to survive it. Alara felt his hands shaking from the effort of containing his rage. Cassian placed the unsigned contract on the wet table. His firm did not merely invest in buildings, he explained. It invested in leadership, and what he had witnessed was moral bankruptcy. Paxton apologized frantically to Cassian, but never to Alara. Cassian tore the signature page in half. The Keswicks' faces collapsed as they realized their empire might fall because of the waitress they had treated as invisible. Yet Alara touched Cassian's arm and asked him not to abandon the hundreds of cooks, cleaners, hosts, and servers whose families depended on the company. She did not defend those who hurt her. She defended innocent workers who would suffer for their cruelty. Instead of leaving, Cassian offered new terms. His firm would proceed only if Wallace surrendered control. Paxton and Maribel left the company, and an independent protection board was formed with employees holding half its seats. Every restaurant would receive paid sick leave, a confidential grievance system, and an emergency fund for workers facing medical crises. Cassian asked Alara to help design it, not as his girlfriend but as the woman whose compassion had protected others when she had every reason to seek revenge. Wallace signed weeks later. Paxton issued a public apology and finally faced the recording of his behavior, without money or laughter hiding its ugliness. Alara returned to architecture after Seelan regained enough strength to walk with a cane. Her first major project transformed the Sterling Room's windowless break closet into a bright lounge and quiet room for exhausted workers. On opening day, Seelan stood beside her while the staff applauded. Cassian remained at the back, letting the moment belong to Alara. When she thanked him for defending her, he said the bravest act had been hers. While drenched in humiliation, she had remembered the livelihoods of strangers. He had called her my love because that was what she was to him. But everyone now understood why. If Alara's strength touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes dignity belongs to every person, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Loyal Hearts. Your engagement helps stories of compassion travel farther than cruelty ever should. Special request, please comment. No uniform can hide a person's worth in honor of Alara and every worker who has suffered in silence. Months later, Alara's old name tag hung inside the new lounge. Beneath it were the words, "Kindness is not weakness. It is power under control." She no longer wore that tag, but she visited often to listen to workers who finally knew their voices mattered. Paxton poured Coke over her, believing he was exposing her powerlessness. Instead, he exposed the emptiness of his own privilege. And Alara showed that true strength is measured not by how fiercely we punish those who hurt us, but by how many innocent people we protect when we finally have the power to choose.